Hello everyone, my name is Ayush. I'm a PhD student at the Earth and Environmental Sciences Department. And in this presentation, I'm going to briefly discuss the research I'm going to present at this year's Discover Symposium. So, broadly speaking, in this research, I'm trying to understand the seismic hazard in Southern California. Seismic hazard as such is no surprise to the state of California or Southern California in general because of its close association with the San Andreas Fault. And San Andreas Fault basically represents a geologic boundary along which the Pacific plate slides past the North American plate, and it's very capable of hosting earthquakes quite frequently, and these earthquakes can be quite devastating. So it's really important to understand how frequently these devastating earthquakes can happen, and that's the sort of direction we are trying to take this research on. So, uh, so if I can draw your attention towards this figure one. So in this figure, I'm trying to uh, basically lay the framework for the study. So seismologists working in this area for a long time have pondered that if an earthquake were to rupture on San Andreas Fault, then which of these two pathways could host slip for that earthquake? So the faults here in Southern California, colored in green, represent the northern pathway, and the faults colored in yellow represent the southern pathway. And both these pathways, studies have shown, are equally capable of hosting slip. And there are very compelling geologic and geophysical evidence to show that. But there is a debate still about the potential of northern pathway to host slip in case of a future event, especially along this section here. So I have highlighted this section. I mean, this section is already highlighted in green color, but this section is particularly shown here with a question mark because the ability of this section to host slip is still questionable. And this rectangle here shows the study area. So we are trying to solve this mystery in this particular area along this Mission Creek fault. And the way we are doing so is by using luminescence dating. Luminescence dating is a quaternary geochronology technique that we use to date sediments. So in this area, we're trying to understand when was the last time Mission Creek fault ruptured. And in order to do so, we have collected samples along the Mission Creek alluvium and the offset channels. So if we are expecting that the Mission Creek fault has ruptured this area fairly recently, then we would expect that the alluvium in this area will be quite young in age. And at the same time, from this offset channel side, the alluvium which we have gathered, we're using it to estimate the slip rate along the Mission Creek fault averaged over several thousand years. Now, before I go further and talk about my results, it's important to understand why we are focusing on the Mission Creek fault. Now, studies in California over the years have shown that for these plate boundary fault systems here, which comprises both the northern and the southern pathway, these fault systems can host devastating earthquakes with magnitude 5.5 or more every 100 years. So there is a 100-year recurrence period for these devastating earthquakes. And the last major earthquake that happened along these plate boundary faults in Southern California was way back in 1857. It's called the Fort Tejon earthquake, and it was of magnitude 7.9, and no major earthquake has ruptured these fault segments over the past 168 years. So a major earthquake is due. There is an agreement about this amongst the seismology or geoscientist community. And that's why it becomes really important to understand the potential of this section of the Mission Creek fault to host slip. And to understand its potential, it's important to understand whether the section of the fault has been accumulating stress. So what we're trying to do here is by dating these sediments from the alluvium or from the offset channel side, it will give us an idea about when this fault was last ruptured. So if it were ruptured recently, like several thousand years ago, then it's highly likely that if an earthquake were to rupture tomorrow, then Mission Creek fault could be capable or could allow the slip to propagate through it. And that's what we are trying to achieve basically here. So I think I don't have the time to delve into my results in a fairly detailed manner, but until now our results seem quite promising. We've got young ages from the Mission Creek alluvium site, which show that this site might have been ruptured fairly recently. However, the caveat here is that in our field studies, we did not find any observable evidence to show that these sediments are ruptured. And from the offset channel site, the alluvium we dated, we estimated a slip rate of about 25 millimeters per year, which is in line with the slip rates people have estimated in the past along San Andreas Fault. So our results seem quite promising, and since I'm out of time, I invite you to visit my poster. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about these results in more detail. Thank you so much.